Okay, so here I have a piece of plastic sheet and my template. I'm just going to take my koki, mark all the way around it. This is super critical here, but anyway. Okay. Now obviously I've got the koki pen on this side and I don't want to transfer this ink into my laminate, so I'm just going to turn this upside down. Then I'm going to take my 49 gram glass cloth. Now this is the inner layer, and line this up over these koki marks. Make sure that it's big enough and it fits over everywhere. Again, because it's cut at 45 degrees, there's lots of yarn slippage, so you just got to make sure that it does cover the entire surface. And when you cut this stuff, and if you try and pick it up, it can very easily elongate because the fibers can slide out. So that's one of the reasons why I flop it over on itself like that, just to try and prevent the yarn from sliding out. If I pulled here, it would elongate and this would come in, and vice versa. If I pulled here, this would come in and that would elongate. Okay, so again, a little bit of resin that I mixed up earlier, making sure that it is properly mixed. Just dribble this nicely on the surface. Working on a flat surface and a hard plastic surface is much easier to wet out than trying to do it on the Eric's skin. So again, working from the center out, just being careful not to move the fibers too much in relation to the pen mark or the koki mark on the other side of the plastic. Clear plastic obviously works because of the transparency. Now I know that the piece of glass will fit right, so I need a little bit more resin in a few places. So there's also especially good method of making sure that you wet out carbon properly, because it's very difficult to see through carbon and make sure that you've got a nice even coating of resin, unlike glass, which becomes transparent as soon as you put resin in. So you can, if you're doing it with carbon, you can pick it up and you can look from this side and you can identify any dry patches and wet them out. So it's just a little tip on how to wet out flat sheets of carbon, making sure that you get the resin nice and evenly distributed. This way here I can also, if I've got excess resin, I can just squeegee it off and put it back in the cup. This lets me easily tell that I've got enough resin on. It's evenly distributed, covers everything. Any excess, just squeegee it back into the cup. Right, so now we've got a nice even coating of resin. You can see exactly where it's got to fit, and it's just a case of turning this back over onto where I want it, and also having the lines pre-marked, it allows me to make absolutely sure that I get the glass in the right position. Okay, obviously I've got the weights underneath, so I'll just take them, put them on the top, lift them out, pop them on the top. It's just going to help hold the Erics down in place. Now the next thing I have to do is peel this plastic off. Okay, but before we do, well, let's do that. We can start doing that right now. Just make sure that the glass underneath is not folded. We don't want this piece of glass folded in there. We must make sure that this piece of glass going on top of this is going to push that piece of glass basically out onto the flange. Right, I'm happy that everything is nicely lined up. This is the slightly tricky spot. If it's a very big surface, you probably need somebody to help you do this. I should be able to manage this on my own, hopefully. Right, so I'm just making sure that the glass is now loosening from the plastic all the way along here. There we go. And now very carefully sliding this piece of plastic at 90 degrees. I'm going to just put this weight on there just to assist a little bit, and just being very careful. Obviously this weight needs to come onto the top surface as well at some point. I'll take it out now and just block it down there. Okay, we're getting there nicely. Right, so at this point I need to cut down here. So let's just take a pair of scissors and carefully snip up the center here and up to there. Now I know I need to make a slit here, so let's do this. A pair of sharp scissors also helps a lot in this instant. And another snip down here. Right, a little snip down here and a snip along here. On this side will help to fold that down. Can we use the brush in this point? Okay, it is important again that this vertical piece of glass doesn't get folded back down onto the surface. This is just a little tricky at this point, but it'll soon get stuck down. A bit gooey at this point. There we go, nicely. Trim off this excess here so that it can stand vertically about 5 millimeters above the flange. Trim off that little piece there. And the same on this side. Make sure that these two pieces of glass meet nicely along this edge here. I'll trim this off. Makes it a little easier to handle. Got some excess there that I can use if I need. Again, we don't want any pleats in this fabric. So we're just going to try and get them out. There we go, should be. Right, we can snip that little excess off there. Now we can just carry on. So I'll lift this piece of this weight, put it on this side, help to hold it down. all looking good. Pull this plastic back a bit. Just going to take this weight out for the time being, pop it over here. Right, so there's my piece of plastic. So the piece of plastic is off. I'll use this again later for the other skin. And it's just a case of making absolutely sure that this piece of glass is nicely aligned. Tricky this. What will make it easier in a minute is when I put the peel ply on it to help to press this all down nicely. Okay, I don't want to mess too much with it at this point. Okay, I think time for peel ply next. Right, so over this whole thing, I'm going to put some peel ply, and this will now definitely help to press all this glass down nicely. Again, I have the same issue here. I need this peel ply to conform, so just a snip down the middle. This weight out here, on the top here. I can even use my squeegee card to squeegee this out nicely. Same snip here. And on this side. This is a nylon material. It's quite difficult to cut if you don't have decent scissors. And these ones are so old and dirty and full of resin. It's time for replacement, I think. Right. You can see the peel ply is already absorbing some of the excess resin that's on the surface here. This weight to the outside as well. There we go. I'm relatively happy that this is now very nicely covered with peel ply. Just about ready to put it into the bag. That everything is pressed down nicely into all the nooks and crannies. The Eric's is laying nicely inside everywhere. The glass is nicely coming out onto the flanges. Right, so those little bits of glass away. Okay, the next step here will be to put a release form down, because we don't want this excess epoxy that's in the peel ply to be sucked up into the air bleed, and then that'll suck up way too much resin out of this laminate. So I'm going to put a peel ply, a perforated release form over the top of this peel ply. Okay, so this is the perforated release form, and it's got tiny little perforations in it, which will allow any air that is now underneath all of this to be sucked out into the peel ply, some into the air bleed. Some of the resin will obviously come through these perforations into the air bleed, so we won't be able to use the air bleed for more than one or two laminates. I think the same thing again. I'm just going to nip up here and make two snips, one there on each side, one there, and this will just allow it to conform to that shape there. Okay, so you can see this is considerably bigger than everything, so it's covering everything, so no excess epoxy that is on the flanges and all over is now going to be sucked up into the air bleed. Alright, the next thing is the air bleed itself. So let me just make a bit of space here. I'll move this out of the way, put the air bleed down, and then bring this back. Right, so here comes the piece of air bleed. And remember I said I was going to put the entire mold into the air bleed. So I've got the air bleed on the bottom. Position the elevator on top of that. And now I'm going to take this air bleed and bring it right over the top here, just making sure that I don't. Let's get this a little bit closer to this side. I'll snuck it underneath here just so that it doesn't fold over. Right, pull it over the top, take out my weights, put them back on the top. This is just basically holding everything in place so it doesn't move around too much. Now this is nice and stretchy material, so it will conform to these shapes quite nicely. The next thing, of course, is to pop this in the bag. Let me just get the bag prepared, show you how we do that.